Larry in Charleston, Arkansas, it says you want to disagree with me?
Well, not exactly, Tom. I'm going to sort of give my little spiel on gun control. Here's the way I look at it. The Founding Fathers were real educated people for their day,
I agree.
Pretty intellectual, and, for that time of history, they laid out the Constitution, then they laid out a Second Amendment to that Constitution, They said the people have a right to be armed, They didn't say people have a right to have hunting rifles, didn't have a...
They said it was in order to have a well-regulated militia.
Okay, well, they meant armed. What they were meaning when they said armed was against their own government. They were...
No, it was not true. That's not true, Larry. That is absolutely not true. Larry, you're wrong. There was, and I encourage you to go back and read the debates. They are there. In fact, the easiest ones to access are the ones at the Virginia Ratifying Convention, because there's a long discussion there between George Mason, Patrick Henry, and James Madison on the Second Amendment, where it came from, why they were passing it, what was going on. For them, a lot of it had to do with keeping their slave patrols going in the South. But the bottom line is that nobody ever, when the Second Amendment was being contemplated, when the Second Amendment was being debated, none of those guys ever said people need to have arms so they can shoot at us, because those guys were the government. They never, ever.
Yeah, they were, but
they
were familiar with tyrants.
No,
Tom.
they were concerned. They had two concerns, Larry. The number one was that we be able to defend our shores. In other words, we be able to protect our government.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
And so we had to have a militia to do that, and they did not. And their concern, they were fine with a standing navy at all times, but they did not want a standing army. This was their second concern, principally of the northern states. They wanted there only to be an army during times of war and during times of peace. It should be a citizens' militia. And down in the South, of course, they wanted the citizens' militia to be available as the slave patrols to keep the slaves, in line, to be riding around the back roads looking for runaway slaves.
Okay, Tom, if that's true, why did they put the Second Amendment in there? Why didn't they just say we want to have a military with people in it armed?
They did, Larry. Read the Second Amendment. It starts out by saying, actually, let me get the exact language here. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They were saying, we want militias, not armies. In Article 1, Section 8, they put a limitation on the Army. They said that you cannot appropriate funds for an Army for any period more than 2 years.
They wanted something like a National Guard that was sort of in the background to the actual federal military. Is that it?
That is exactly right. They wanted every state to have what today we would call a National Guard, and for there to be no Army unless we were in a war.
I see. Okay, so I have no right to arm myself against my own government then. Is that what you're saying? That
was not the intent of the founders. Now, you may have that right or you may not, depending on what the Supreme Court has to say on any given day of the week. They've changed their mind a few times over the last decade. But to the best of my knowledge, the Supreme Court has never said that you have the right to arm yourself against your own government. In fact, the whole point of our small d democratic, small r Republican government is that we can take on our government in the ballot box.
Yeah, okay.
Do you seriously think, Larry, that you and a bunch of your friends, if you've got enough guns, are going to be able to take on either the state of Arkansas or the United States of America? Do you seriously think that?
No, I don't actually believe it.
Then why even go down that road?
Right, I think I have the right to be able to try to try that if I'm...
Well, there were people, Larry, there were people in Arkansas who thought that in 1862, and we litigated that, right? And the folks down in Arkansas lost.
Well, I ain't after the black people. I love the old black people there, fella.
Larry, I'm not talking about race. I'm talking about the Civil War. The Civil War was when people, which of course was about race, but my point is that whether the people have the right, whether individual states or people within those states have the right to challenge the federal government, that was litigated by the Civil War. And there was a decision. The South surrendered, the North won. We put in the 13th, 14th Amendment, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. We put an end to it, end to slavery, and we put an end to the separation of from the state. And in fact, in the 14th Amendment, I believe it is, could be the 15th, but I'm pretty sure it's the 14th. It even explicitly says, I'm quite sure it's the 14th now that I think of it, it even explicitly says that the full faith and credit of the United States shall not be questioned, except when it comes to paying off the debts of the South in the Revolutionary War or in the Civil War, when the Confederacy.
I don't know why you want to drag me back in that Civil War. I don't really understand that, but
why am I saying this? Because you're talking about you're saying that you think that states or individuals have the right to separate from or challenge the federal government through use of arms.
Defend myself against an unjust government, which could happen,
Tell me what it would it take, Larry, Larry, serious question. We just have 30 seconds. What would it take for you to stand out in front of your house with weapons and defend yourself against the government?
If somebody came out here, unjustly, with automatic weapons, what you call assault rifles, I think I have the right to defend myself against that kind of...
What is unjust?
Of course, I'm going to be...
What is it that they would be doing that would cause you to think that you have a justification to shoot at a government official?
What if it's unjust?
What is unjust? Give me an example.
Tyrants.
Give me an example. Give me an example. You mean like enforcing Obamacare?
It can never happen there, Tom.
Give me an example.
You're telling me it can never happen.
Okay, you don't have an example. I got it. Larry, thank you very much for the call. Maybe somebody else will. I don't know, 27 minutes past.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
Or maybe Larry was just calling in the spirit of April Fool's Day. But I don't think so, and that's the thing that concerns me. We'll be right back.